Hello, Steve White, Steve White 39. Well, I just want to do a review of the first episode of Masters of the Universe Revelations. Now, I tried to do one earlier and it ended up being like 20 minutes long because I just got sucked into all the politics surrounding the release of the show. There are a lot of political agendas being drawn in and people are looking at the show and reading it through their own ideologies, and it really is a bigger issue than the show itself. I just want to look at the actual show and just the first episode itself. So the show starts off with a really cute little intro. It basically shows the story of He-Man like it is in the original credits introduction, where we establish that Prince Adam is He-Man and that a few people know and they're protecting the powers of Grayskull, and they do it through some very 80s style animation, which might actually be some might be some artwork from the original toy line that they've animated. I'm not sure, but it's good. They go to the first scene, which is a hooded figure on Stridor, basically leading Clawful and Spikor to Castle Grayskull. They've been captured, and it's revealed to be He-Man under the hood, and the sorceress opens the gates to Castle Grayskull, and then she stands on the drawbridge, and she immediately realizes that this is Skeletor and Evil Lyn pretending to be other people, and He-Man stands behind her while she attacks Skeletor and defends Castle Grayskull and basically puts him in his place. And then we go to the palace, because what we see is that Teela is being promoted to Man-at-Arms, and they are basically having a celebration for her. We see the characters basically be themselves. We see Orko and Cringer, and it's very much like an episode. But then we see Prince Adam, and then we are like, well, who's that standing behind the sorceress? And it's revealed to be Faker, who I call Fakor because Stinkor, Skeletor, I'm probably going to do that. So they basically get into Castle Grayskull. The sorceress protects herself and hides behind a force field while Skeletor tries to basically take the castle apart to get into the bowels of the castle to get to the secrets of Castle Grayskull. Well, eventually the sorceress calls to Adam, and he lets Man-at-Arms know that Castle Grayskull is under threat, and they shut down the ceremony and people go off to either safety or battle, and we finally see the battle that we've always wanted to see, which is basically Skeletor and his minions from Snake Mountain all attacking Castle Grayskull as like an army. So you have a whole army of people, and you have Castle Grayskull with these crystal things basically shooting out lasers, and it's basically everything you wanted it to be. You wanted to see this epic battle for Castle Grayskull, and it's kind of like what you sort of would do with your toys. You'd set them all out and have it all lined up and have the armies, Skeletor's armies attack, and it's what you always wanted to see. Unfortunately, it's very short. I was kind of disappointed because this could have been the whole episode, or it could have been a whole movie, and it's very small. It just sort of made me want more. So we go back to Castle Grayskull. He-Man has arrived. He's protecting the sorceress. He's fighting with Skeletor. Skeletor, basically, Mossman intervenes, and Skeletor kills Mossman. Now, He-Man steps out of character here, and he basically lunges at Skeletor in rage and tries to run his sword through him and kill him. Now, what Skeletor has done is he's positioned himself in front of what is essentially a lock for this pyramid that's holding this sphere of knowledge that is all the wisdom and magic that created the universe that's been hidden in Castle Grayskull that the elders have put there. And he runs the power sword into it like a key to a lock. It opens, the orb is released, Skeletor smashes the orb to release the power. The power is going to destroy basically everything because it's so powerful. And the sorceress freezes time long enough for He-Man to work out that he can use the power sword as a conduit to absorb the power and save everyone. So that's what he does. Because he's He-Man, because he's selfless, because he's thinking of everyone else, he's the hero. And the power sword is split in two. Now, this is something that was established in the prequel comic where it was created in two different realms, Pre-Eternia and Sub-Eternia, which is basically heaven and hell. And the sword basically absorbs the power, splits, and then goes back to either realm. and some of the power escapes and basically is like an explosion, and it basically eviscerates He-Man and Skeletor. And of course this is devastating. Man-at-Arms has to tell King Randor and Queen Marlena that He-Man has succumbed and that Prince Adam, of course, is dead, because Prince Adam is He-Man, but King Randor doesn't know this, so Marlena immediately reacts, and it's very emotional. I kind of got upset to see Marlena sort of mourning Prince Adam and having to tell Randor, and Randor, of course, blames Man-at-Arms and basically blames him for allowing Prince Adam to maintain this double sort of identity, this dual identity, and be He-Man and be in jeopardy. So he banishes him, and that's when Teela steps out of character, and she basically, she's not thinking about the Queen, she's not thinking about King Randor, she's not thinking about the parents who just lost their son, she's not thinking about what Eternia has lost or anyone other than herself. She's just thinking of herself. She's very self-involved, very narcissistic, not the Teela we sort of know. So if you follow the show, and you're a fan of the show, you would sort of feel that this is off, just like He-Man sort of choosing to try and kill Skeletor. He never would have done that. He didn't believe in killing. He wouldn't have tried to kill Skeletor. The Sorceress not knowing that a machine wasn't a living, breathing He-Man with the power of Grayskull within him, that she couldn't tell that was Faker. Things like that don't really work, but that's more if you're a fan, you're familiar with the characters and mythology. If you're not and you're just watching the show, stuff like that isn't really going to stand out for you. Another thing that was wrong for me, I think this is wrong, is how they use Castle Grayskull. Basically, there's three mythologies for the show, as far as I can really see. There's the original mini-comics, which came with the toys, because that was first. And then there was the canon, the mythology established by the TV show. And then there was the later 2002 show, which created its own sort of canon and really spent a lot of time developing that mythology. They sort of are the three sort of ones I sort of pay attention to. And this story that they've pulled from, because when they were criticised with how is Castle Grayskull not real, because what you find out when the Power Sword split and He-Man is revealed to be Adam, basically Castle Grayskull disappears because it was just a hologram. Now in the prequel, they do have He-Man warning that Skeletor one day is going to come and they should hide the Hall of Wisdom somehow. So that's where you assume the creation of Castle Grayskull comes from. I assumed they were building a facade or building an actual castle. All they're doing is putting up a hologram around the actual Hall of Wisdom. So when that comes down, it's just a Hall of Wisdom, and Castle Grayskull never existed. And that just it's just saying this thing that all these people loved, and this icon basically was just an illusion, never existed. It's like, haha, fooled you. I did not like it. And the other issue, of course, is it's not really the mythology, because there are a lot of smaller companies like Kid Stuff who created different stories and things and comics and storybooks and that for the He-Man toy series that aren't really canon. They're very much their own thing. People just sort of creating their own sort of mythology, their own stories that sort of stood alone and weren't really part of anything. And this is one of those stories where someone warned them to hide the Hall of Wisdom, and they hid it in the hologram of Castle Grayskull. And when they were criticised with how could you do this, how could you basically make Castle Grayskull not exist and not just be an illusion, and they're like, oh, it was in the original mythology. Well, not really. It was in one little story. So that's an issue. So there are things that don't work for the show for me. Now, in the production, the animation was the 3D kind of stands out and doesn't really blend, and there are parts that it's just very clunky. It doesn't really blend. They're beautiful on their own, but they sort of don't merge well. And the voice actors, some of them don't really work. Mainly Michelle Gellar. She basically, you cannot not hear Buffy when she talks. When she talks, it's just Buffy. And they really should have had another actress because it's very distracting. And so far as the show itself, as an adventure show, an animated adventure show, it's fine if you're not really attached to the mythology and everything, and the characters. It's fine. It's not going to bother you. You're going to be able to enjoy it. But the problem is fans who are going to see the problems. And the other element is the promotion, the production, the intention behind it. Basically, some of the people involved in production really brought their own personal agendas into it and their own politics, and there's no way some people can sort of not read the show through their own ideologies, and it just puts a whole layer on top of the show that it didn't need. And basically the problem with the show is more external, with other people's issues and politics and ideologies that are sort of drawn in, and it's really not the show's fault or the episode's fault. On its own, it's fine. I enjoyed it. There are issues, but mostly just because it was promoted as a He-Man show and it really wasn't. So I'm just going to leave it there because I want this to be 10 minutes. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks.